Hey, board gamers, BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, back with episode number 20 of Gumbo Live. I can't believe it's been 20. Proud member of Punchboard Media, where we all bring something to the table. Check out some of the other fine members of Punchboard Media, State of Games podcast, and the Longview podcast. Special guest tonight on Gumbo Live, we got a brand new papa, Jeremy Davis, a.k.a. the Game Geek Ninja. Happy to have him here. Hit me up on social media tonight, on Twitter at Board Game Gumbo, or on Facebook at facebook.com/BoardGameGumbo, or you can always email the show at boardgamegumbo@gmail.com. Hey, Jeremy, a couple of show notes before we begin. Got a couple of cool guests coming in next week. We won't have a show this week, of course, because of Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah. Sorry, that was my cue.
Yeah, that was your cue. So next week, we do have Oscar Valera, my buddy from the Valera Boys. If you haven't seen that little show, Oscar and his son do a great job reviewing games, talking about games. And Oscar's a good game teacher. So we're going to talk about that next week. And also on Tuesday, it's Last Tuesdays with Alex Goldsmith from the Dukes of Dice and Gray Fox Games. He'll be back to talk about his experiences at PAX Unplugged and also Gray Fox's new game, Bushido, which looks really cool. So reminder, no show on Thursday. And on the blog side, we did a game that the Game Geek Ninja is very familiar with. We talked about Kaiju Crush this week. So if you get a chance, check that out. Proud member of Punchboard Media, where we all bring something to the table. All right, let's talk to our guest here. Jeremy, back again, the Game Geek Ninja. For those people that haven't talked to you before, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Basically, I'm a children's librarian that plays games all the time. So whatever I can do about gaming or kids' books or kids' programming, that's what I do.
Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking about you today. I saw a couple of people on Facebook, and you might want to check this out. On one of the Facebook user groups, either Board Game Group or the other one, they were talking about a librarian looking for some information on some of the things that you can do to network among all the libraries. Apparently, she works for one of the libraries, and she was wondering if the ALA or some other place has a database of all the different collections so that she could compare notes and see what people want to play.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's a database yet on all the games and stuff, but there's a group, an ALA librarians group that is on Facebook. I'd have to find the link, but it gets librarians together to talk about how they start their collections, how they process them, what their loan rules and stuff are.
Well, I think I saved the link, so if I can find it, I'll send it to you, and maybe you could chime in with her and give her some help on that. Hey, there's definitely our buddy Steve O'Rourke checking in, the name father from the Dukes of Dice. Says, hey, have a great holiday, everybody. And that's right. Thursday, we're going to be doing turkey, and we're going to be doing some Cajun traditions. Are there any traditions up where you are in the Birmingham area that you guys like to do for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, football.
Football, of course.
Yeah, the Iron Bowl's this weekend, so nothing else will even have anything close to Saturday. So
that's right. On Friday, we have our annual Texas A&M versus LSU game, so we got to get prepared for that. But on our Cajun side, we always like to do some special traditions, some rice dressing. I think what you guys call dirty rice. I think that's what I've heard people call it. But what we call rice dressing, and some fried corn. So I'm looking forward to that, man.
Fried corn, yeah.
Fried corn. I make it. It's a specialty a recipe handed down by my grandmother. So I love to do that.
I'm just coming down your way.
Yeah, you need to come down. If you want to eat, we're going to have some ponce. We're going to have some ham. We're going to have some turkey. I can't wait for it. So Jeremy, what have you been playing lately? You know, one of the games I want to ask you about.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to game night much lately because I got a newborn. She's 6 weeks old. So sleep has been more important than games. So I've been playing a lot of kids games with my niece, but I finally got out Friday night to my regular group, and I was bringing a bunch of little light games and stuff. And then a friend of mine got Gloomhaven in, so everything else just kind of went to the side, and that's what we played.
Yeah, so you guys are doing a regular campaign of it? Y'all going to try to do the same people on the trip through the game?
We've got a group of 5 that normally meet. So the game plays 4, and one of the guys has been just kind of running it, DMing it for the one session that we did. So we try to keep our normal group together, and he doesn't mind running the game. He has just as much fun doing that. So hopefully we'll be able to run through it that way. But it's going to be kind of a year-long thing, I think, next year because it's so long. So it'll take a while to get through.
I know it's early, of course, but what do you think so far?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. There's a lot in it. My early thoughts were that the battle system, the fighting, is really cool. Have you seen it at all?
No, I've seen the box, and that's it.
Okay. Yeah, the box.
We haven't broken it out yet.
Yeah, the battle system. You have two. You pick two cards each time, and you get a hand of your cards, and you get to choose two of them to play that round. You have to choose two, and each one of them has a top and a bottom, and you have to play the top from one and the bottom from another. So it gives you a little bit of options because you don't have to declare what you're doing, but you do have to use those two cards. So and then it's run by an initiative system. So there's a number on each one of the cards. The lowest number is first in initiative. So if I play a card that's 10 and a 60, my 10 is my initiative. I go pretty much first in the round. Okay. But you could have a situation where you've made these grand plans and then, your buddy over here has a lower initiative and he does something that screws your whole thing up. So you have an additional option of doing the opposite of what you plan. Instead of doing the top of one card, the bottom of another, you can do the bottom and the top. It's interesting. Gives you a little options, but basically it's a dungeon crawl that you've got objectives that you're trying to complete. There's a story that goes along with it. And as you build in the story, you get different options, and the options are going to lead you different places.
Sounds like a big world.
It is. I mean, it's set. The town is called Gloomhaven, and then you immediately are led out into a dungeon crawl. You have random encounters like any RPG video game you might have ever played. Sure. But if you defeat a certain thing, like not to give anything away, but the very first thing we encountered had a treasure chest in the room. Of course, I'm playing the ninja thief because that's what I'm going to do.
Right.
And all my buddies are like finishing up the battle, and I'm going straight for the treasure. And so I unlock the treasure, and it says, okay, see this chart in the back of the notebook, and it's going to tell you what's in the treasure chest, whether it's an item, or it could be another quest. It could be letters from somebody that leads you somewhere else. And based on that, you add in different things, either add in another weapon or something for you, or you could add in another place you go. And I think we were looking at there's 75 scenarios just that you can go through in the entire book.
Wow. That's the detail that went into making this game just boggles my mind. I mean, we really are in the golden age of gaming right now.
Oh yeah, it's great. And in addition to the 75 scenarios, there's 20, I think there were 20 or 25 character classes. So you can start off with your choice of 5 or 6, I think. But as you work through them and your characters level up, and then you have a secret goal for each character. Once you complete that within the campaign, that character retires. He's like, oh, I got what I need, I'm gone. And you choose a new character class, which will be higher up or different. Like immediately, of course, I want to play the bard so I can screw things up.
Right.
But the bard's not available till you've leveled up in the game longer. And as you complete the scenarios, you get experience points and you build your character up. It's kind of similar to. Have you played Pathfinder, the card game?
Yep. I'm still working through Rune of the Rise of the Rune Lords, but
is that the first one?
Yeah, I still have the first one.
Yeah, we're almost done with that one, but this is similar to that in that the game is persistent. You're going to have your characters that you put back in the card case, and next time you just pull them out and you do it again. So it's like running a D&D campaign without having to really think too much. It does the thinking for you.
One of the things I don't like about Pathfinder, the adventure card game, is the ungodly setup time. I mean, it just takes forever to get everything set up and then to break it back down. So I started with my boys, and it's just tough because a lot of times they just want to pop in for an hour or so to play a game. Heck, it takes 20 or 30 minutes just to get us back into the game, you know?
Yeah.
Is that the same in Gloomhaven? I've heard that it's a little easier.
It's a little easier, but it's still got a setup time. One thing I did like, though, is that it seemed to be if you lost, if you did certain things, there would be other consequences from what I could get. Maybe not saving a certain character or an NPC or something led you a different path. I haven't played it enough to tell, but it really had choices and stuff that were kind of neat. It's a legacy type game, so you're going to, I mean, immediately first thing that happened to us, we encounter a random encounter and it says, rip this card up when you're done.
Wow.
And we're like, okay, that's, of course we played Pandemic Legacy, so it's
sure.
And when it was my game, I'm like, ha, rip. But my friend Brad was like, no, I'm going to save this. I might want to play this one again. So
I was happy to rip the stuff up in a Pandemic Legacy, just like you. Hey, yeah. BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, back with episode number 20 of Gumbo Live. I've got Jeremy, the Game Geek Ninja. We're talking Gloomhaven. I did have one more question about Gloomhaven. Sure. You and me and Steve O'Rourke, we love to talk about filler games on the internet. We love to talk about gateway games really more. Family weight, the SDJ games, the Spiel des Jahres weight games. Is Gloomhaven that? I mean, I know it's a big game, and I don't mean it from that perspective, but are the mechanics relatively easy to get into?
I don't think it's super hard. I mean, I certainly, it's not heavy at all. I mean, it might be on the lighter side of medium, I guess, is what I would put it at. But I think
comparative to Pathfinder,
I think it's easier than Pathfinder because with Pathfinder you get, I don't know, I found that a little harder to get some of the concepts behind it when I first started out playing it. Some of the ways that you use your weapon and you have to spin stuff and I forget what they're called now.
The Blessings deck.
The blessings.
Yeah, that was the most confusing part for me, was the Blessings deck. Exactly what it was.
Yeah.
It took me a while to figure out. It's just a timer.
Right. And if you match it up, you can get special powers or use it for a special thing. But there's no real timer on Gloomhaven except that you will run out of cards eventually, because every time you run out of cards, it's got a system where you have to play the ones in your hand until you run out, and then you have to rest. And when you rest, you lose a card, basically. So you can run through your cards a number of times, but eventually you're going to run out. So that's the timer. But it's really easy to understand. It took us maybe 10 minutes to explain it. And there's already some good intro how to play the game rules videos online. So it's not bad. I think I could probably teach it to most people who've played games before. I don't know if that's the first thing I'd hit the table with, unless somebody just looked at it and went, ooh, what is this? And then, yeah. But you could easily step up from one of the gateway games and get into it not too long afterwards.
Maybe a next level game then. Maybe not a gateway, but maybe more of a next level game.
Yeah.
Hey, it is, I saw the Christmas decorations already been put up at the local stores. My wife has already started doing some of the shopping. I've got some of it knocked out already. I know it's not even Thanksgiving yet for a couple of days, but around the board gaming world, it started today because Miniature Market threw the first salvo down with their big giant sale. So it got me thinking that whenever you and I got together this month, that we could talk about Christmas gifts, because every year it seems like more and more people are turning to me, at least in my family. I've been dealing with texts all week. What should I get this person? What should I get that person? Especially now that some of my nieces and nephews are all into board gaming,
Yeah.
You getting some of those same questions?
I got it twice today at work.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I threw this around a little bit on the Gumbo page, and Steve O'Rourke, the name father, had a couple of ideas, and I thought it'd be some, I don't know if you got to see what he said. His take was replacement games. So I thought we could start out with that.
Sure.
Some of the games that that people are out there buying, Battleship, Clue, Boggle, Checkers, chess. He was throwing out a lot of these things. And what are some of the games that you would throw out instead? Did you come up with any ideas on that?
Yeah. I was playing around with it a little bit. I'll tell you straight off the top, when you said Battleship, I played one not too long ago. And I saw it actually at Gen Con last year. It was that Captain Sonar.
Okay.
But it was a little daunting to have 8 people. So I was lucky enough to pick a copy up at Target of the one they've made that's
Sonar.
easier. Yeah. Yeah, it's just called Sonar, and it's a 4-player.
So I played Captain Sonar.
Right.
I played it at PAX South last year, or this year, I mean. But I haven't tried Sonar. It looks similar.
It's very similar. It just eliminates two of the basically two of the players and all their abilities get shuffled into one of the other players. So you have somebody listening, the radio operator again, I guess is what they are, and they're listening to the other players' moves and charting them. And then you have somebody who's in charge of everything else, the movement, the firing, and all that stuff. So,
well, in all honesty, that's the best two jobs in Captain Sonar. The radio operator and the captain are the two most. The other jobs I thought were pretty boring, but those two jobs were pretty fun.
Yeah, and we played it. We had never played Captain Sonar. We had it because it looks cool, but I mean, when do we have 8 people who are really into it to try and play it? So we've tried the regular, just the new one, the Sonar, and me and my friend Brad were on one team, and then Bob and Mike were on the other, and we were kicking their butts. I mean, we were running. We hit them. I think you have to hit them 3 times to sink them. I'm not sure, but I think that's what it was. But we were up like 2-0, and then they just came back out of nowhere and killed us 3 times. So it was pretty interesting how, even though you thought you were way up, they could come back from behind. It was very balanced. I liked it a lot.
Well, I like that. Sonar instead of Battleship. I didn't see. I'm curious as to what Steve was going to say. He threw out some names. We'll see if Steve or anybody else watching the show has some suggestions for Sonar. And Steve did remind me that there was some big, deep discounts on that miniature market sale today. Miniature market over there, one of the online game retailers out of St. Louis. The one that I'm mad I missed is I put it in my cart, and then I had to take this conference call, and by the time I got back to it, the Climbers at only $28 was already sold out.
Have you played that yet?
No, I've never played the Climbers. Jason Dinger has it, and we just haven't gotten together to play it. I've been wanting to try it.
Yeah, I saw it. No, I didn't get to play it. Eric had it at Gen Con, but we didn't pull it out. We played Red Scare instead.
So $28 for the wooden version. This isn't the plastic version that's going to be
that's nice.
Later. This is the capstone version with all the wooden blocks, and it was $28. I'm still mad at myself that I didn't pick it up.
Well, it might be on Cool Stuff or somewhere else by the end of it.
I'll have to check that out. So, Was there anything that you were eyeballing on that miniature market sale?
I haven't had a chance to look at it much. I've been catching up at work. Yesterday was my first day back, so I didn't get a chance to look till yet.
I'm going with Battleship also, and I'm going to zig a little bit from where you were zagging. Sonar, obviously, great replacement. I wish I had thought of that. My thought was it's a one-on-one battle in Battleship, but what you're really trying to do is guess where the other person has put stuff. And you're trying to knock out the battleships. So I was thinking a Stronghold Games release that I love, Not Alone. Now, it's 1 versus many, so that takes it out of the realm a little bit of Battleship. But in that same way, you're trying to outthink the other person in where they're putting. But it's coming to my mind that there's another one that's probably even better than Not Alone. I don't know why I didn't think of this first. Have you played The Fugitive by Tim Fowers?
Yes, I have.
Now, isn't that kind of a Battleship game for gamers?
It's a little bit. The only difference would be that the person who's actually searching for the fugitive does not have to hide where they are. So
that is true.
Yeah,
that is true. It's only one side.
Yeah, it's more asymmetrical in that nature, but I mean, it's not different. I mean, it would still interest the same people, I think.
Right. Somebody that likes that cat and mouse of Battleship, I think would like the fugitive. Because the way we play it, and I've only played it a couple of times, but when we played it, we had actually 3 people, and we each took turns being the 2 players, switching off on who's the person that's trying to get away and who's the person that's finding it. So we sort of played Battleship from that aspect. We rotated among who was going to be the fugitive and who was going to be the secret agent. Hey, there's Steve saying, good call on Sonar. Captain Sonar was the one he thought about, but thought it was too intense for a new hobby gamer. He's right. I couldn't introduce Captain Sonar in all good faith to people that have never played games before, although a couple of the jobs aren't that hard. But the idea that there's a lighter version out there, Sonar, that you can get right at Target for, I think it's like $25, something like that.
Yeah, I actually picked it up for 10 because somebody had returned it before they had it as a regular thing. So I lucked out. I was all over that one.
Yeah, Steve made the point that you had said. He said Fugitive is more of a race to get away while the marshal hunts. It is a race, but essentially it's trying to figure out in real time. It's almost as if you played Battleship, but instead of putting all 5 ships out, you put one at a time. And as you got other hits, you could put more Battleship. That would actually make Battleship a better game, but I'm not that interested in playing Battleship anymore. So that was the first one that I thought of. And the second one I thought of was Clue. Have you got any replacements for Clue?
Well, the first one that comes to mind to me is Mysterium.
Okay.
I would never play Clue again if I could help it. Of course, I always had a problem with Clue as a kid because I'd play it with my sister, and then if in order to find out who had done it, we had to look in the pack, and then the game was over.
Right.
So it didn't help us any. The games ended real quick. But Mysterium is kind of psychic Clue. It's if you took Dixit and slammed it up against Clue and made a better game.
Yeah, I like that. It's a good choice. Mysterium, big hit in our game group. I love it. The one that I was thinking that I finally got to play with the game group, and I played with the family 2 or 3 times, is it's a Bruno Cathala. I think Bruno Faduti was in on it too, but I know Bruno Cathala was on it. Mystery of the Abbey. I don't know if you played Mystery of the Abbey yet.
I haven't played that one yet. No.
It's a gamer's version of Clue. It's where each person has to. You can't just go somewhere to find the clues. Because Clue is basically just a roll to move, and
right.
you look for things. This is one where you got to play a little strategy. All the monks are trying to figure out who was killed in the abbey, and each room has a different power, and each abbot of the monks can have different powers depending on the cards they pull. So you could be a person that's going to race out to get clues, or you can be a person that just investigates by interrogating people, or you can be a person that goes out to certain rooms to try to get the special powers. So there's multiple ways of winning, and I thought Mystery of the Abbey would be a one that it's not very hard to play at all. Anybody that's played Clue before can pick up Mystery of the Abbey, in my opinion.
Yeah, Target had another one too called Suspicion.
I don't know that one.
It's a white box. It's a really light game where I think you can have up to 6 players, and you're trying to figure out who each player is. And it had the same feel Clue would have. We've only played it a couple times, but it was. They put it down for as cheap as $12. So that was another good one that might scratch the same itch, even if it wasn't the same exactly.
Well, if Steve O'Rourke is the judge, it looks like the Game Geek Ninja is killing it because he loves your choices instead of mine. Great call of Mysterium, says Steve. Family likes playing that with me as long as I was the ghost. They were happy to make me shut up. That's true, because in Mysterium, you can't do any talking. Have you played the ghost? I love playing the ghost.
I do too. As long as I have enough ravens to move over, and if I play it on real hard and have one chance at reshuffling my deck the whole game, then I might be in trouble.
I don't even know if we played with the ravens part. When I was taught the game, and we played it 2 or 3 times back to back, the way Carlos taught the game, apparently there's a couple of different variations. There's the original Polish version of it, I think, and then there's the American rules. And some people have kind of just amalgamated the 2 sets together. So I'm not sure which what official rules we played. We may have played kind of a smorgasbord there.
Yeah, all the Raven does is let you reshuffle. You can get rid of some cards if you're stuck.
I don't remember put it back in.
Yeah,
I don't think we played the Raven. So Steve's got a couple ideas. He taught code names instead of Battleship. Where Password meets Battleship and I guess has a baby, and they called it code names. Hidden locations you're trying to find with verbal clues. Yeah, I could see where code names would be sort of like a Battleship.
Yeah, it's a nice light game too, and they've got a lot of different versions that you could get depending on. They've got like a Marvel version and a Disney one out now.
I don't think of this game as a replacement for Clue because I think Mystery of the Abbey kind of more fits in the line of what Clue is doing. But from the fact that it's a deduction game, I see where Steve's going with Deception, Murder in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
It's my favorite of all those. I've played Dixit, I've played Mysterium, I've played all those games, and to me, Deception, Murder in Hong Kong is the best one. It's Clue and it's social deduction. Is it good? Yes, Steve. It's my favorite one. Gray Fox Games imported this game from a Japanese company, and they just knocked it out of the park. I mean, it's a fantastic game. Have you played Deception yet?
No, it's on my list for Christmas. I'm hoping it comes my way.
And it's been on sale. Oh yeah, tell the wife, right?
Yeah.
Is she watching the show tonight?
She will. She's upstairs with the baby, but she'll watch it.
Yeah, actually, I've seen it on sale. I've seen it in that $28 to $30 range on a couple of online retailers, and I've seen it in some of the friendly local game stores. So I think Deception, Murder in Hong Kong. I'm gonna have to ask Alex about this next week. But to me, that's a game that started out slow, and people are talking about it more and more year. I think it's one that's going to become an evergreen title for Gray Fox, but almost more building up year after year.
Yeah, well, they've got a bunch of good base games that they're building up on, so I expect to see a lot more good stuff from them.
All right, so a family tradition going back. One of the first things I remember about being a board gamer is when I was a kid, me and my buddies are in the back playing D&D or Payday or Life or one of those games, and my mom and her friends having these, stay up till midnight sessions of Scrabble or Boggle. I don't know if you had those traditions in your family of the family playing those word games, but those were 2 word games that I can remember as long as I can remember. Scrabble being in the house, and then later on Boggle. Have you thought about any games that could replace Scrabble or Boggle?
Well, you mentioned when we were talking earlier about Wordsy. You really like that one, right?
I love Wordsy.
Yeah,
love Wordsy.
I got a copy of that one for review when they were putting it on Kickstarter when Gil Hova was doing that. So I played that one from the beginning. I loved Wordsy. It's great. We played it. We tested it out, and I think it's got a lot of interesting. Really simple mechanics that make sure it's balanced. You can only have certain number of the extra point letters and stuff like that. I think he did a really good job on that one, and it plays really well. There's the others that I would think of were both in the Tim Fowers line. He's got paperback and hardback,
sure, which
are great. And I pulled one off the shelf. Have you seen Word Domination?
Yeah, I've seen it at some of the cons. Yeah. I just haven't played it yet.
It's really interesting. I got to meet Jeff Beck too when I was at the con. We sat down with Tim Fowers and his whole crew, and we were play testing his new one called Now Boarding. But it's not a word game, but he's got a bunch of good word games. Word Domination may be my favorite because you're an evil mastermind trying to take over these letters. And once you take over it's almost like worker placement, and you're putting your little zeppelins down and spelling a word out. And then the next turn comes around, and if nobody's replaced your zeppelins with theirs and you spell a word using those same ones, you now own that letter, and you're the only one who can use it.
Okay, so, that's an unusual theme, man. Color me intrigued on that one.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. He's Jeff Beck's an interesting guy. He looks
an amazing guitarist.
Yeah, different one, but yeah, same thing.
Not the same guy. Okay.
If it is, I really want to talk to him more. But he looks like a master villain, so he went with the villain theme, and that's probably my favorite of the line. But tell me what you think about Wordsy, since I stole your thunder.
No, actually, yeah. I'm going to give you a Word Domination. I'm going to stick with Wordsy. I was on the playtest team with Gil. Gil was nice enough to send me an early copy, and we got to go through some of the early iterations with it. I love Wordsy. Maybe because I've been playing it so long. But what I really like about it is the first word game that I bought after being sick of playing Boggle and Quirkle. Well, Quirkle's not a word game, but it's got that Scrabbly, Boggly type thing. Was a game called Runes. And I love Runes, and I can't find anybody else that likes it. It's an old Eon game from the 70s, I think, and it appeals to me. It's building blocks of words. Steve O'Rourke would like this one. I'm positive he would like this one. It's building blocks of words made up with only the 4 essential parts to our Western alphabet. It's a straight line. it's the curve, it's the circle, and it's the small line. Every one of our letters can be made with those 4 symbols. Think about the P, Q, R, M. All of those words are just made up of those 4 lines. And you've got to make words out of those lines while other people are trying to guess your word and you're trying to guess their words. So it's diabolical. It's fun. Steve, wait till we get together at a convention and I can teach it to you, because like I said, I've taught it to a lot of people and no one else seems to like this game but me. But I kept saying, okay, there's got to be a game out there that'll do what Runes, that quick thinking, trying to come up with a word, and Wordsy does that. Wordsy is a quick playing game. All you have to do is think of a word. I called it, a sandbox type word game, because Boggle, you're limited to those letters in the square. Scrabble, you're limited to the ones that you pull. Wordsy, it's whatever letter you want to use. You've got the main letters that you have to play to score points, but after that, you can use any letter. They just don't score points for you. So now, yes, he throws in the timer and he throws in the pluses and all of those other things, and that's what makes it a gamer's game. But the essential part of the game can be taught in 30 seconds.
Yeah, and have you seen the bot that he created on Twitter?
Wordsy bot. Today it's still going strong, because today he was competing with the Wordsy bot again. Like, Gil, this has been months, but he, I guess when he's just sitting around looking on Twitter, he's like, let me check it out. I've actually never, except when it first came out, I might have tried 1 or 2 words, but I've never really tried to compete with it, because every time I've thrown in a word, it scores 25 points, and I can't get more than 18 or 19.
Yeah, and it's coming up with like medical terms and all this crazy stuff, and I'm like, come on, Wordsy bot, you're going to kick my butt again. But
Wordsy bot. You remind me, I do need to play Wordsy bot a couple more times. So I have a copy for myself, and then I have another pristine copy that I play with my mom too. So my mom likes it, and I mean, there's not a lot of games she likes to play. She's such an old fan of Scrabble, Boggle, and Quirkle. Getting her to play any other games is hard. But Wordsy is one that she likes to play. It appeals to her. So that is Wordsy. Oh, Steve's got an idea. This is one I don't know. I've heard of it, and I think I've seen it in places like Walmart and Target. But I say I don't know. I've never played it. Quiddler is a mass market game that our family plays on beach vacations. Like Scrabble meets gin rummy. Does really favor people with a large vocabulary like Scrabble does. Are you familiar with Quiddler?
Yeah, we've got Quiddler. We played it a little bit. There's actually even a Quiddler Junior that you can play with kids, which I haven't played yet, but I found that kind of interesting. I'm not sure how it makes it junior, because it's just letters anyway. But it's a neat little game. I was thinking of another one while you were talking about Wordsy, but have you seen Unspeakable Words? It's
seen it but never played it.
Yeah, it was first when I was getting started doing Kickstarter.
It was on Kickstarter like a year or 2 ago, if I remember right.
Oh yeah, it was like 3
maybe longer.
Maybe longer, because it took forever to actually get to people. But it was on the tabletop show, one of the early ones. And it does the thing with the angles. However many angles in the word is how many points you get. So it was pretty interesting, but it's harder to find and probably not worth as much as the hype that got put into it, I guess. I'd rather play Wordsy or Word Domination, honestly.
Yeah. Word Domination, I confused at first when I saw it kind of blow up at the cons this summer with Word Slam, which I have played. But
yeah,
apparently
Word
Domination, Word Domination, Word Slam have nothing to do with each other, as far as I can tell.
They're both very good games. It's just very different. Yeah.
All right, so the last one I wanted to talk about, replacement games. The topic that Steve had brought out, checkers and chess are old favorites, and lots of people like to give chess sets or checker sets to family or friends. I would play chess a ton when I was a kid. I've never liked checkers. I've just never, and my dad loved checkers. I just never liked it. Now I wish I'd played more checkers with him, but c'est la vie. But have you thought of any games that could replace checkers or chess with a new gamer? Because there's a lot of super duper strategy games that really we play instead of playing chess, but something that is friendly to new people.
I thought of a few, and I'm not sure if well, there one of them comes off the top of my head really quickly, and that's Onitama,
Okay.
which is really easy to teach somebody, and especially if they've ever played checkers and chess. I mean, they'll get into it real quick. You familiar with that one?
I watched it. One of the guys in the game group owns it, and I watched it, and it reminded me a little bit of the Duke, but I'm not.
Yeah,
I didn't watch enough of Onitama to know for sure.
I think the Duke has the moves on each tile, right?
Yeah, and when you move your tile, you have to flip it over, and on the backside, there's a different movement. So you have to kind of strategize moving and flipping, moving and flipping.
Okay, well that's cool. Yeah, Onitama takes similar. You played a lot of Kaiju Crush.
Yep, sure did.
At the convention. Well,
there's Steve chipping in that he likes Jeremy. He likes the Game Geek Ninja's choices better.
me and Steve are going to have to play games. The Onitama takes the in Kaiju Crush you can use your power or use the power in the center.
Correct.
So it does
community power.
Yeah, it does the exact same thing, except there's only 5 powers for the entire game.
Okay.
And once I use my power, one of my 2, it goes to the center as a community power. And then the next turn, my opponent's going to get what I just used. Because you put yours in the middle that you just used and then take the community power back for your next turn. So you can strategize what you're going to do a couple moves out. And you can kind of force your opponent to only have a limited amount. Because you know they're going to use one of their powers now, and they're going to use whatever you played the next turn. It'll be kind of their option. That's the easiest one, I think, that would translate really quickly.
That's a big fan. I'm sorry, Z Garcia is a big fan of that game, if I remember right.
Yeah, it's very, very simple to teach, but it's got a lot of depth. And they've come out, it's got, I think it came with 16 movement cards, and they call them Dragon and Phoenix and Turtle and all this stuff.
Right. The rabbit I saw, yeah.
Yeah. And then I picked up 2 promos last year at Gen Con, and then now they've come out with a set that has either 12 or 16 more move cards. So it makes it the replayability is excellent. You just got to find somebody who really likes to play it that much with you.
Well, I do this show every week, and thank God my family actually doesn't watch the show. So I can actually talk about this because I know my brother's never going to watch this. I pulled my brother's name for Christmas, and my brother Dave loves the Duke. I mean, he's not a big gamer. Like Viticulture, he actually walked out after the first turn, said, this is just not for me. But games with a lot of or I guess it's more tactical, move to move strategy. That's the kind of games that he just loves. And I was thinking that either Onitama would be a good choice for him this year since I pulled its name, or actually it has nothing to do with this, but the Bob Ross Chill game, because he loves that kind of pop culture, quirky type things. But Onitama, you're kind of, now I'm glad I talked to you. You're kind of getting me to lean maybe toward Onitama. That might be a good choice for him to play. Yeah,
the other one that I really love, and it's a little more involved because it's got an asymmetrical nature to it, but it's Raptor. Have you played that one?
No, Dustin Boatman in the Gumbo crew talks about it all the time.
I will play Raptor every time you want to.
If I remember right. One of the Brunos.
It's both Brunos.
Both Brunos, okay.
Yeah. I will play that anytime you want to. You get a set and we'll play it on here.
Steve says you could consider Raptor as a 2-player tactical chase game.
Yeah, it's really neat. It's got the same kind of mechanic where you have to use all your cards.
Apparently, you and Steve share a brain. He said, "I was just writing that."
Well, see. We're gonna have to play games.
Yeah, we got to get him to come to a con, right?
Yeah, or we could just make one up and all meet somewhere in the middle.
Gumbo Con. Need to get both of you guys to Gumbo Con. What about the Rose King? Are you familiar with the Rose King? I've heard of it. Jamie from Secret Cabal talks about it, but I've never played it.
I haven't played it either. I looked at it and had it on my Amazon wish list and just never pulled the trigger on it. It's it looks really interesting, and I like. I think that's Cosmos is who makes it.
Cosmos makes it one of the Cosmos 2-player
Yeah,
line, like Lost Cities. Yeah.
yeah, and Kahuna, which are that one's a lot of fun too. But which Kahuna's a good 2-player game that you could play with chess or checkers people too. But yeah, I want to get Rose King and try it out.
All right, so I've got my last part. My idea for the checkers or chess, and this is more for checkers. I don't know if you played Frog Riders by Stronghold Games yet. Have you tried that?
I haven't. I saw it and I've looked at it, but I haven't found anybody who's got a copy yet.
There was some new gamers at Dice Tower Con, people that were kind of local and just checking out this local con, and every one of them that came through Frog Riders. I mean, I'm talking people that had never gamed before, and every one of them that I taught Frog Riders, I just basically said, "Hey, this is checkers with special powers," and they're like, "Oh, I can do that." And within 5 seconds, they were up and running. Because I mean, who doesn't know the checkers move of jumping over other people? The only difference, and that's what makes it good for gamers, is that you don't have one piece. You're moving all of the different frogs, and each one of the different frogs has a special power. And there's the Euro style. Not only you're collecting the frogs for points, but there are some cards at the top that change every game that give you bonus points. If you can collect 3 red frogs, you're going to get more. You know, you get, I forget the numbers, but you get 3 points for every set of 3 red frogs. If you collect a blue and a brown frog, and you collect 2 pairs of those, you can get 5 points for every one of those 2 pairs. So there, you know, everybody's battling it out because you're using either the special powers or you're collecting the frogs for the bonus points. So it's got it's something you can play with your nieces and nephews, but you're going to have a good time playing it too.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, so let's talk about, and I don't know yours on these. You've seen mine from the show notes, but let's move to the second part. You've got a new gamer in the family, right? Maybe mom has come up to you or your sister has come up to you and said, "Hey, my niece or nephew is just into gaming and I really want to get him something. Give me 3 choices. Something old, something recent, and something new." Were you able to come up with some for that?
Kind of. And the old is where I struggle more than anything because I've been back into gaming for maybe
Sure.
3 or 4 years, but the oldest thing that, well,
maybe I have a chance then when Steve judges this. Maybe I got a chance to win this thing. All right. Well, you listening, Steve? See what you think of these choices here. Give us your horrible first choice.
Well, no, it's not horrible, but I've got two kind of first choices. One that's really light and easy to get into, and one that's kind of got more of a take that evilness to it. Old
choice, Game Geek Ninja. One choice.
I'd get them to get Suro if I had to get one that's been out for a while. Okay. Yeah.
I like it. Classic game that's been out for a while. It does have an upgrade with Suro the Seas, which I like better.
Yeah.
But Suro I had for a long time. I actually traded it to Bradley from the game from the Gumbo because he loves playing it with his nieces and nephews.
Yeah, Suro's the one that got me back into gaming. So that's kind of my gateway game. And that's one I always go to teach somebody that gaming is not just Monopoly or something.
I like Suro. I'm going to give you a game that I played at Dice Tower Con with Jake and Danielle from the Draft Mechanic podcast. I'm so glad they taught me this game because it's one I've looked at and completely rejected because the reviews are terrible. It's a game. It was called Las Vegas back then when it won I think it won the Spiel des Jahres that year. Either won or came out second. I can't remember. But I think it did win. And the reviews are terrible. Las Vegas is now, there's a new version of it. Target has it. It's called Vegas. You're going to see it in what looks like a big giant dice box. Looks like a big box, like a dice box. And it's only like $20. You can even catch it on sale. They had a big sale a couple of weeks ago where they were selling it for $9.99 at Target. And basically you're trying to capture all these casinos just rolling dice. I mean, it's nothing more than a press your luck type of dice fest. You know, can I outmaneuver whoever has this casino or whoever has this casino by grabbing some dice and outrolling them? So strategy, there appears to be some. I don't know exactly what it is, but there appears to be some. But there's that visceral thrill of seeing I got to beat these 2 5s, and you roll 2 6s and win. You know, it's just anybody that's rolled a dice ever in their life knows that thrill of beating the odds and hitting on it. So it does it's kind of thematic when you think about it. It's all about chucking those dice. It's an older game. It's very old. It's 15 or 20 years old, but there's a new version of it. It looks spiffy. It's not going to be something that if you're giving a gift to a new gamer, they're going to look at the old box of Las Vegas and go, wow, really? When they look at it, it's going to look like any one of those mass market games that they're familiar with, and I think they'll jump right on it. Yeah,
it sounds fun. It sounds like I'd lose a lot if it has a lot of dice to it.
There is a lot of dice to it. It's silly. Take that chucking dice fun. So that's first one. Looks like Steve O'Rourke likes Suro. So even though you just threw that out there, all right. We'll see how about the second choice? Something recent, something in the last 3 to 5 years that has come out that you think would be appropriate to get new gamers excited about gaming.
I would probably pull Lanterns if I had to pull something.
Oh, that's a good choice. I wish I had thought of that one. Yeah, that's why do you say Lanterns?
I've taught it to a couple of people, and I actually was really big on it before I went to Gen Con last year. And started sitting around a table playing with people, and there's Chris Chung sitting there with me playing a game, and he's like, "Oh, Lanterns, that's my game." We were just talking about it, so now I'm friends with him. It's pretty cool. But
so you didn't know it was him whenever he was sitting there?
Oh no, I had no clue.
I wouldn't know what he looks like either.
Yeah, well, he's a really great guy. He really knocked it out of the park with that one, and he's been trying to make something to follow up ever since, but I don't know. It's a classic game right off the bat. It's really simple to teach.
Steve's checking out on us, by the way. He's got some family stuff to take care of, so we'll catch Steve next time. But thanks for
see you, Steve.
Yeah, for sending us all those messages, Steve. So go ahead. You were saying?
Lanterns, basically, if you can do colors. I don't know how well it'd be with someone who is colorblind, but
I think it has. Yeah. I think it's got patterns too. Right?
Yeah, it does. It does have patterns. I forgot all about that because I just look at the colors every time. Right. But
it's a great game.
It's basically matching the colors, and then you get bonuses if you match separate multiple things. And then if you match with a platform, you get little special power tokens that let you trade out tiles. And it's set collection, which most people will understand really quickly. You're trying to get 4 of a kind blue, and then you can trade it in to get points. I've never taught it to anyone who didn't pick up on it almost immediately, and I've converted several people that I work with into wanting to play other games just based on playing that once. So that's probably my favorite one to just teach somebody right out the bat.
I like it. And look, I'm the guy that likes all games, and for whatever reason, I borrowed Lanterns from Dustin because he has it. And I played it with my wife. I played it with my sister and her husband. I played it a bunch of times, and I don't know what it was. Something fell flat. It almost felt like the end game was almost determinative. The person that went first, and I don't remember exactly, but it seemed like the person that went first had a better shot at winning. I don't know if we weren't playing it correctly, but there just seemed to be more of just, you're going to do this, I'm going to do this, you're going to do this, I'm going to do this, and then the game ends. So I'd like to try it with it's a quick game. So maybe the next time you and I hook up together at a convention, we can just throw it together and see if maybe I wasn't playing it right.
Oh, I don't know if I can't think of anything that you were doing wrong, but I've never had a game that I was playing with it that I didn't feel like I was into the end. Okay. So and
I felt more like the game was playing us than us playing the game, and I don't really like that. So, but I'm gonna have to check it. Maybe we weren't doing it quite right. The game that I was thinking of, everybody likes racing games, everybody likes betting games. When you smash those two together and you keep the mechanics simple, I think it's a great game for new gamers. So I came up with Camel Up, and it's time tested for me because I've had the game since it won the Spiel des Jahres, but my friends have discovered it through playing it with us, and I've noticed that they buy it on their own, and they report back that they play it with their aunts, their uncles, their grandmother, their families, their friends. It's in our little town. It's kind of got a life of its own as each person buys it and then introduces it to new people. So I really do. That's the beauty of the Spiel des Jahres. It's made for those family weight type games, and I think Camel Up does such a great job of that. I mean, how do you play the game? You explain the 5 different things that you can really do on your turn, and they're all so simple choices that within the first round, every single person, even people that have never played a game before or any kind of hobby game before, instantly pick it up.
Yeah, I actually I've not played the real Camel Up yet. I played
Wait,
the Camel
what?
Up. I played the Camel Up cards,
Oh, okay.
which is very similar.
I would have. That shocks me because that's a game I would have thought would have been right up your wheelhouse.
Well, I think I got the Camel Up cards for like $10, and I had never tried Camel Up at all, and I was like, man, I really need to try this game, and so I just picked up what I thought was the simple version, but I can't think of how it's different. You just don't have, instead of having a board, you have cards that you lay out as the board. So,
How is it different?
yeah,
Do you stack your camels up?
Yeah, you still have camels that you stack
You have
up.
wooden.
So,
You had wooden camel meeples.
yeah, yeah, you
Do
get
you
the
have a
meeples with it.
pyramid that you turn upside down and go chunk and dice come flying out?
No, I don't have a pyramid.
That.
Okay, forget it. I got to get the game now.
When you plop the pyramid down in front of people who've never played games before, right? They're used to Battleship or they're used to Scrabble, and you say, "We're going to do this pyramid, and orange dice are going to come out of it." The look on people's face, and we're like, "Is this really part of the game?" And then you see people picking the coin so that they can roll the dice more, even though I never pick the coin. I don't always win, but I hate rolling the dice. I want to do all the betting and try to calculate the craziest odds, or try to move the camels up and down with the little the token that can either move a camel up or move it backwards. Just that the pyramid and the stacking the camels, just makes this game for me. So I don't know about this Camel Up card.
Well,
game. I know about it, but if it doesn't have the pyramid, I don't know if I want to play it.
It doesn't have the pyramid, so I'm going to have to get something now that has a pyramid, because it sounds much better than what I had. I enjoyed it, but it's nothing with a pyramid. So
all right, so that's something recent. All right, let's move to something new. Has there been anything new in the last year or so that's caught your eye that you're like, oh my God, we got to add this to the library? Or this would be a great game for new gamers. I got an aunt or uncle who doesn't play games, but they're going to like this.
I've got 2, and the one I think is knock out of the park easy. Go ahead.
Yes, we're going to allow a waiver. You can have 2 games here. I just got a ruling for the judge. You're good.
Well, there's one that I would say I would give it to anybody, and I think you could teach it in 5 seconds, and you could give it to any of your family members, and they'd be happy. And that's, well, I mean, because it won this year. It's the King Domino.
Oh, okay, yeah, King Domino.
Yeah, that would be top of my list to give it to anybody. I recommended it to somebody today. We bought it for our kids' side of our library collection because it's a family game you can teach in 5-10 minutes at the very most.
I can see that.
Yeah, so that would be top of my list to give to somebody that I wasn't going to sit down and play with. Could just explain it real quick and say your family's going to love this.
I think the point scoring might be a little tricky for people that haven't played games before. Not really. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Well, I'll tell you what. I explained it to a coworker of mine today who does not play games. She was just looking for something for her grandkids, and she pretty much picked it up from the back of the box.
Okay.
So I think if I could lay it out and say, here's how the scoring works, and you can only make a 5x5 grid, go to town, she'd probably be able to do it in about 10 minutes or so. So
yeah, I'd give you that. It's really not that hard to do the scoring. I guarantee and you can play the game 2 or 3 times in a row because it's so short. In fact, we usually do. We usually play 2, 3, or 4 games in a row. So I bet by the middle of the first game, people are grokking how to score the points. I like that. That's a good choice. King Domino. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with my first choice because I, like you, have 2 games that I put. And everybody likes racing games. I talked about Camel Up. But in Camel Up, you're not really racing the camels. You're just betting on the camels. You actually don't care who wins because none of them are your camel. And that's the frustrating thing for some people that play Camel Up. They want one of the camels to be theirs. And Downforce solves that. Downforce I haven't played Camel Up since I got Downforce at Gen Con. Downforce, fantastic game where you're betting on the cars but you also are buying cars, at least one, sometimes more than one. The only problem is you got to pay back those prices at the end of the game. So you can't corner the market on the three best cars at 10 million a piece because you're going to lose your butt off in the game. You got to buy cars for cheap with powers that are going to score you more points at the end. Have you got to play Downforce yet?
No, I saw you walking around with it, but we never cracked it open while we were there.
I know, we never did, huh?
No.
Downforce, phenomenal and so easy to teach. I mean, it looks like a tough game, just from the standpoint of all the different cards and the numbers. But I've taught it to everybody, and I haven't had any trouble in teaching that game at all. So Downforce, I absolutely recommend it. It's my favorite racing game. That's the one I'm going to pull out. Formula D is for trade. If anybody wants Formula D, they can have it for me for really cheap, because I will never play Formula D again if I can play Downforce instead. I guess the only saving grace on Formula D is technically you could play, 16 people on Formula D?
Yeah, you can play a ton.
It's an insane amount. But I never really see people having fun playing Formula D. Not cheering, really excited fun like you see in Downforce.
That sounds great.
Are you a Formula D fan?
No, I've never played that one. I've seen it played, but I haven't played it.
So, what's your second one? We've got Downforce, and you had what was the one you had?
King Domino.
King Domino. That's right.
Yeah.
Good.
Now this one is if I had a chance to actually sit down and play with them, and it wouldn't take convincing, but it'd be easier to convince somebody if you actually got to play it and they're really going to love it. I don't know. I'm just talking in circles.
I'm curious now.
It's called Sherlock Holmes.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's
Eric likes it a lot, if I remember right, from the Dice Tower.
Yeah, I haven't seen what they were saying about that one yet, but it was my favorite thing at Gen Con last year. Okay. It was that same table I was sitting around with a bunch of designers. I didn't know it at the time. I just knew one of the guys. So he's like, hey, let's play test this game. I said, sure. So he pulls out all these character cards of all these creatures, and he said the game's called Sherlock Holmes. You're trying to catch Furiarty. And I like Sherlock Holmes. It's
sure.
It's a lot.
That would
of fun.
make me laugh and want to play the game. Just that alone.
Yeah, it's but it's just fantastic. You have a card in front of you that you're trying to determine what it is. It's one of 5 suits, basically.
Sort of that Hanabi thing where everybody else knows, but you don't know?
Yeah, but I can't stand Hanabi.
Hanabi is stressful.
Any game that's like, oh, if you got 12, you did kind of good. No, I don't like Hanabi. We traded Hanabi away almost immediately. This one I will play almost any time you want me to, because you're not just trying to play something. You get to basically ask questions based on what card you play. You're asking if it's the same suit as yours or if it's within one number on a clock face. And then you get to, when you're ready, you say, okay, I think I've got a 5 crow, and you get points if you get either the crow or the 5. If you get them both, you get double. And
you don't feel like you're letting your team down if you guess it wrong. It's just you.
Right. And then you kind of work cooperatively with the whole group, because you have a certain number of correct answers you have to get done before Furiarty escapes. And there's a little tracker that acts as a timer. I have yet to sit down and play that game and not feel just wonderful at the end. Everybody I played with loves it. There's a token that you can use to it's as an interrupt. It's called pause, which is funny. I
like that.
If you've played a card and you don't know exactly, you've got it narrowed down to, it's got to be either the 4 or 5 of crows, and I want to wait because I get extra points for getting both of them right, but I can't decide. And then the next player flips a card over that determines, now you know exactly what you got. You can just flip over your token and go pause, and you can make a guess.
Okay.
So you get penalized 1 point for using it. But we were there's a couple of games we were playing where we were right at the end, and we waited till the end, and we used our pause, and it made us win, and everybody was like, "Oh, fantastic!" It's just really a great game. It's silly,
So
but it's
is it
got
cooperative or competitive?
it's
Or both?
competitive. It's both, but it's you want to have the most points. But if you all don't win, then nobody wins. So you have to catch Furiardi, and then the highest player wins. If you don't catch Furiardi, the lowest point player is the loser. But it's just all about the gameplay. Who cares who wins? It's
Yeah.
just a lot of fun. Yeah.
Sounds like it's more of a gameplay game. I
Yeah.
like that. Perlock Holmes, King Domino,
Sherlock Holmes.
Perlock Holmes,
Yeah.
Downforce. And my last one is one for anybody that you've played with that likes to, flick things. Maybe I'm sure you played football as a kid where you hold up your fingers like this and you play against each other. I mean, we did that all during recess when I was growing up. And Ice Cool hits the table all the time now for us with family events or at Louisiana Game Con, Louisiana Comic Con, our little local con. Ice Cool was played all weekend. I mean, it just stayed on the table all weekend. People played it over and over again. It's so easy to teach. There is a lot of strategy, even though it's technically a dexterity game. There's also some strategy. I mean, you're playing each other, and you're keeping track of who's got a lot of cards, who's in the lead, knocking out people. Have you got a chance to play High School yet?
Yeah, that one came home with me last year.
Okay.
And like you, when I put it out on the table, it stays for a while. So we actually got I had the kids at the library playing it about 2 months ago, and I just put it out on the table to begin with because it takes a second to set it up, and you have to set it up just right. And so I was like, don't even worry about putting that game up. Other people are gonna want to play it. Just leave it right there. So it had its own dedicated table.
That's what they were doing. They kept taking the box, just one of the box parts, and going back and checking it back in and out all weekend.
Yeah.
Because it just stayed set up on the table,
Yeah. It's really a lot of fun. It takes a minute to kind of get the flow of what you're doing, but once you sit around and watch somebody else play it for a minute, you're like, okay, I'm up. I want to go. And it's really, really draws people to the table, and it's got a nice look to it. If you're just walking by, you're like, okay, I got to know what this thing is.
What I like is I love games that have that high five moment. And the minute that you can, and it doesn't happen often, but the minute you can flick the penguin and it goes through 2 doors and gets both of the fish to end the round right before your buddy is about to tag you or tag somebody else, man, that's like everybody's cheering. Is like, yeah, you made the big one. You could never do that again. Or the minute that you flick it the wrong way and leave yourself wide open for the next guy's shot. That's or as has happened many times, you're left just such an easy shot. It's 6 inches away, and all you got to do is flick it right through the door or flick it and hit the other penguin, and you botch it. I mean, there's just groans and people cheering, and you just don't get that from many games. But Ice Cool has those stand-up, slap your hands, cheering moments that are just such a great game. That's one I could easily recommend to anybody, even brand new gamers. Right? Yeah. So I think we got a good list here for games that we can recommend to people. These games are going to be beautiful. I mean, Tsuro looks gorgeous when people open it up. The rice paper and the beautiful colors and everything. Lanterns has that table beauty. King Domino has that same thing. I haven't seen Perlock Holmes. I'm going to trust you on that one. We've had games that are easy. Games that kind of attract eyeballs. Ice Cool and Camel App have those specific components that are going to make people double take and go, what is that? It's
with a pyramid,
like
a pyramid that I need now.
The pyramid, absolutely. And then, of course, Downforce and Vegas being games that people that like racing games or people that like to throw dice are going to be instantly taken in. That's a good list, I think. I think we got a really good list for people that can make some recommendations.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, man, it's the 9 o'clock hour. That's it for another episode of Gumbo Live. We had a great discussion, I think, about the games. I want to thank Jeremy, the Game Geek Ninja. Hey, Jeremy, how can people reach you if they have questions about what games to add to their library, or you could be the Christmas shopper expert for them this holiday season?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
How do they get in touch with you?
I'm on Twitter at Game Geek Ninja. I do a whole lot of kids games and stuff like that most of the time. I also recently updated my website so it didn't look like 1986.
It does. It's a little better. There's no reviews on it though since the last time you were on. But I know you've been busy.
That's been the baby time, yeah. But it looks a little better. I've still got some more work to do, but that's GameGeek.Ninja. But
do you have is there something you're going to be reviewing pretty soon?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things that I just got a copy of Robots Love Ice Cream.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That my niece absolutely adores. And the guys there have been fantastic. They sent her astronaut ice cream when she said she loved it. So that was fantastic.
Oh, that's cool.
And there's a couple of other things that I've got, only 2 or 3 right now, but I'll get more towards the start of the new year once I settle down a little bit with the new baby.
So that's GameGeek.Ninja.
.Ninja, yeah.
And you should have a review of Robots Love Ice Cream coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, pretty soon.
All right. If you have any questions for Jeremy or for me, make sure to leave some comments on the Facebook feed or subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget this Thursday, no show Thanksgiving instead. So, Jeremy, if I don't see you or talk to you then, although we talk almost every day on Twitter, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
You too, man. You have a good time.
Next week, we have Oscar Valero from the Valero Boys. And on Tuesday, last Tuesday of the month, we have Alex Goldsmith from the Dukes of Dice and from Gray Fox Games. Hey, I'm BJ from Board Game Gumbo. And Jeremy, until next time, laissez le bon temps rouler.
All right, man. We'll see you later.
All right, man. We'll see you later. Good talking to you.
You too.